It's super creepy, all the noise of the critters in the bushes.
The roll.
And the roll of the thunder in the back. It's really creepy.
Welcome back to the Rangeless Travel Podcast. We're your favorite adventure travel hosts. I'm Britt, and this is Ryan. Together, we travel the world by plane, train, and 89 Ford Sportsmobile, capturing the beauty, adventure, and culture in every corner of the globe. Currently, we're traveling the U.S. in an old van with our two dogs, Layla and Cedar. Every Tuesday, we share stories and tips to inspire you to book that next trip. So go ahead and don't be shy. Follow along with us at Rangeless_ on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Let's dive in. Everyone shares their travel stories and they're like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. I loved it. It was so great. These are our worst travel stories. The worst things that ever happened to us while traveling.
Do you want to start?
I'll start light and easy. So remember that one time when we were in Morocco and we were going to Fez. And we had to take a bus. And I forgot why the bus was so late. I think we missed the earlier bus or something, and so we couldn't get on that. And the only next bus there was didn't get us arriving to Fez until like after 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, we don't really have any options, so I guess that's what we're doing. Now, we get there. Fez, if you don't know, is known for its like intricate Medinas.
Yeah, it's like a labyrinth of
so,
alleys.
Like, everyone gets lost. No one knows where no one knows where they're going. It's hard to find your accommodation, and Google Maps does not work. So like it doesn't really matter.
People get lost there during the day. In the middle of the day, people are known for getting lost in this particular city.
It's also known for a lot of heckling. So people are going to, a common scam is people are going to be like, oh, I'll show you where I'm going. I'll show you where to go. I'll show you where to go. And then they like ask you for a bunch of money and like won't leave until you pay them.
Yeah.
So I'm cranky AF from being on this bus for like hours and it's nighttime and I'm tired. And unbeknownst to us, we were both also getting sick. So we get there. We're finding our way. We're telling our accommodation host, like, where we are, like, where to meet him, like, trying to figure out where we're going. This group of, like, older teenage boys to, like, early 20s, I would say, come up, and they're just like, oh, follow me, oh, follow me, oh, follow me. And I'm like, no, we're fully packed up. Backpacks on, front packs on. Like, I am a vulnerable turtle. Like, I can't do anything. Plus, all of our camera equipment, like, all of our money, like, everything is on us. Like, if he pushed me over, like, I can't even get up. Like, I feel so vulnerable. And these are, like, tall, young dudes. And they're like, follow me, follow me, follow me. Now, the New York in me is, like, on full alert, and I'm like, he's gonna take me into an alley, and him and all his buddies are gonna be waiting there. I'm gonna get mugged, and I'm gonna get jumped, and like this is gonna be horrific. So I'm just like putting my like I grew up in Jersey attitude on, and I'm like, no, I don't need you. Get out of here. Like, I'm done. Like, and he's yelling at me now, and he's like, oh, like B word, like this, that, the other thing, and I'm like, whatever, F off. So then he gets real close to me and like whispers in my ear, it's scary at night, isn't it? Like, are you serious? Like, he did that on purpose to scare me, to make me feel super uncomfortable, and we don't know where we're going, and we're lost, and we're vulnerable, and have all of our belongings on us. And, like, we're just, like, walking through this maze. Yeah. So we see, like, a light. And some of these, like, entrances are small. So, like,
you have to duck down to get down some of these alleys and things like that.
And again, now at this point, it's, like, midnight. Our accommodation host can't find us. We can't find him. We can't find the accommodation. We see, like, a light. And I'm like, let's just go stand in that light and, like, figure out where we're going. And it happened to be a police station. Yeah. So we just stood outside this police station until our accommodation host found us, which made it easier, I think, for him to find us because we were, like, at the police station. Yeah. And we made friends with the cop, and he was, like, talking to us, and drinking is illegal. And they kept just, like, bringing in drunks to the drunk tank. So it ended up being fine, but, like, it was scary. Yeah. And, like, I don't like getting anywhere at night. Like, I always say, like, get there during the day. If you can't get there during the day, then, like, go tomorrow.
Yeah, it definitely was very sketchy.
Yeah,
and it could have gone definitely very wrong.
Yeah.
And we were both double packed up with all
There
our
was
stuff.
nothing we could
like,
do.
There's no way to fight anyone off in that if you're like that. You're basically like, you can't even get your arms. You can't even touch your arms together because your stuff's in the way.
You're a turtle.
Yeah, and you get knocked over. You're stuck on your side. You're not getting up.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that could have gone very wrong. But thankfully,
it ended up fine, and we made friends with the local police. So
yeah, we saw them a couple other times during our time in Fez. It was fine.
Everything works out.
One time when we were in Hajong.
Yeah.
Remember when we were like the most remote part of the Hajong Loop, and we were on the motorbikes, and we were just the two of us, and the Sky Path to Happiness was like that skinny little road on the side of the mountain with
the Sky Path to Happiness is the most dangerous road in the world, or one of the most dangerous roads in the world, and at some points it's only about 4 feet wide,
right?
And like on one of those sides is like sheer cliff.
It's
all the
just
way down.
A cliff down like hundreds of feet. So we were both like, before we got to it, we were on the main Hajong Loop, and we were both debating, will we go and do it, will we not? And we see the sign for it, so we pull over and we're like, let's just do it. We decided, we hyped ourselves up enough that it was time to go. So we start off down this Sky Path to Happiness, or at least to the start of the trail. And this is like, again, 4 feet wide little track.
Yeah.
And we missed the turn. There was like a little arrow spray painted on a wall that didn't really say anything else.
Which I'm not even going to lie, I saw. And I was like, that's probably it. But he had ridden so far ahead of me that like there was no communicating that.
No.
He was just zooming off, and I was like, oh, I guess that's not it, even though there's an arrow there.
Yeah, so I was all the way up at the end at this like drop off down into someone's like driveway, and I stopped there, and Britt was like, I don't think this is right, but we couldn't turn the bikes around because there wasn't enough space. So I drove down the little hill part, put my bike, and you were stuck at the top.
No, you were already down the hill. He was at like someone's front porch.
Yeah, down this hill thing. And you were at the top of the hill, and I was like, don't come down here because we're not going to be able to turn the two bikes around.
And it was like wooded, so you couldn't even see what was down there. So I'm just like, okay, I guess, but I can't turn around because my bike is now like
on this
slant because he made a turn onto someone's front lawn.
Yeah, so I'm like, don't come down. And you're like, I can't stop. You're like, I'm stuck because you couldn't get off the bike. You couldn't go back.
Do anything.
So I was like, oh shit, let me go and help you real quick.
Yeah.
And I put my bike on the side stand, run up to go and help you.
Oh, before he even got up, he went to put his bike on the side stand, didn't like push the stand down all the way, the bike just falls.
Yeah, I hear it crash
bike falls,
to
and
the
then
ground.
He leaves it. Instead of like checking the bike, he leaves the bike on its side, comes up, helps me, realizes that it's actually hard to help me because I'm really stuck and we're trying to push this bike back. So maybe like 5 minutes the bike has now been laying on its side. He goes back and he's like, oh, my bike won't start. Also, he like broke like, what's that red button? Was it like
the kill switch?
The kill switch. He broke the kill switch. The engine was flooded. So we made a split second decision that we're like, okay, well, we obviously can't go on this most like dangerous road in the world because his bike's not even turning over. So we get it back to the main road, which luckily
we had to push it.
We're up on a hill.
Yeah, we had to push it back down the hill. All the way to the main road.
No, you were doing it like, you push it back to the main road, but the main road is up on a hill.
Yeah.
So once we got to the main road, he got on it and he like started going. Because you know how you like, if you're going, you can like start it. So he starts going down the hill and like starting it up.
Yeah, and it eventually started. Which took probably like an hour to get it back running again. And it was not running good. It was like...
Yeah.
Not good.
But luckily, we were going down the hill.
No mechanics for miles.
Which is so unlike Vietnam because there's mechanics like on every corner.
So like we were just thinking we're going to be stranded in the middle of nowhere in remote Vietnam, and just that, it was not good. It was not good.
You know what that reminds me of? The time that we thought we were stranded on the volcano.
Yeah, in Sumatra.
Yeah.
That was a time. That was, well, me and you, we were trying to find this volcano, right? This was in Berestagi. We're trying to find this volcano that you can climb up to it. Like, it's an inactive volcano.
And again,
you can climb it.
It's an active volcano.
It's active, but
like
you can climb.
very active volcano. Like it's probably dangerous to climb up it, but we did. And it's in pretty remote locations.
Mm-hmm.
So we're driving and there all of a sudden we're like going up the volcano, up the volcano, up the volcano. We're climbing an altitude and it's getting like we don't see anyone up there.
Nobody.
Every like checkpoint looks deserted. Like we're like, are we even on the right road? Like, are we even going in the right direction? Like, I have no idea. And all of a sudden, we come to where like a fallen tree is.
Yeah,
and we're
across
like,
the road.
We can't pass it with our motorbike. So we're like, okay, do we like leave our bikes here and like hike up, or like what do we do? And we were like, oh well, I guess we'll just like hike up a little bit and see.
Yeah.
Where the road leads to. So we're like, okay, so we hike up, which is a hard hike, by the way. Like, this road is like so steep. It's going up a freaking volcano. So we keep hiking and keep hiking and keep hiking on this road.
And then we come across this, like, it looked like a deserted, like, camp.
Yeah, it did look like a deserted
And, like,
camp.
there was a bunch of, like, dogs there. There was, like...
It looked like something out of, like, a post-apocalyptic, like, world movie.
Yeah, and then these, like, street dogs just come running up and start barking at us. And we're like, are we still in the right place? I don't even know. We carried on walking for a bit, and then this guy pops out of one of these like shelters.
It was like a convenience store. It looked like a convenience store. It looked like a restaurant. There was like a bunch of hammocks. There was also a bunch of like picnic benches. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh yeah, are you guys climbing up?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh well, you just made it because like the time cut off." And we were like, "Okay," because it took us so long to hike up the volcano because there was a tree across the road.
Right.
So we're up there, we sign in, and then we take off. On our trail up, we're like passing like three other people on their way down. That was it. So we get up there, and it's majestic.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We end up enjoying it for a bit too long, and it starts getting dark really fast. Yeah. And then it's pitch black when we're on our way down. Climbing down back to the like checkpoint where you sign in.
And it's creepy.
Yeah, there's like all noises in the thing. And there's tigers in Sumatra.
There are tigers.
In the wild, in Sumatra. Yeah. So like we're like, is there going to be a tiger jumping out at us or anything like this?
Like we don't know where we are.
It's hard to see where you're going. It's all like rubble and stuff, so you're falling over and
we're like, was our bike stolen? Like who is this random man that we like signed in with? Like is he going to steal us?
Yeah. And eventually we make it back to that guy. After like it probably took us twice as long as it took us to get up.
Absolutely. I was not liking it.
And we hear the thunder rumbling in the background. And, like, we can see the rain clouds, like, far off. And we're like, oh, my God. And so we sign out with the guy. And we start heading back down the road to the motorbike. And, like, on the way there, it's, like, this tiny little road, like, surrounded with trees on each side. And, like, it's so creepy. We just have the light from the phone. And all you hear is, like, cracking in the woods and things like that. And it's like there's something following us. It felt like there was something following us. We both felt like the hairs in the back of our necks pricking up. Eventually we make it to the motorbike.
Which was luckily
still there. Like, and then we turn on the motorbike, we turn on the lights. The lights are rubbish. Like, you can't see anything. It's, the two of us are on the motorbike going down this bumpy road. We get to the checkpoint that was deserted. There's nobody there again. It's pitch black. And we have an option. We can go back the way we can, which is going to take like twice as long. Or we can turn left here and go towards the hot springs.
Yeah, that would potentially be shorter, but the road was like an unmanaged road.
Well, we didn't know that before we started. So we started off down this road and very quickly it went from an okay road to, oh, this is just a bunch of rocks that you're hiking down. But we were bouncing on the motorbike, the two of us, and you can't see anything. Then it starts raining heavy. You hear the thunder cracking.
It's also dangerous because if you've ever ridden a motorbike on gravel, you like slip and slide a little bit. Now on top of that, you're adding the rain, so now it's getting muddy.
Yeah. And there's big rocks, and you're sliding down the side of the big rocks and everything. You can't see nothing.
We're in the middle of the jungle.
And the rain is coming down.
Yeah.
And
it's cold.
It was not good. And that took us so much longer to get to the hot springs than if we just took the main road back. Yeah. It was not good. We were literally crawling. We probably could have walked quicker than we were actually riding.
Yes.
A lot of it. It was just unmanageable. Terrible. But at the end of it, we got to the hot springs and we both went in and...
Yeah, we just went to the hot springs.
Because we were soaked to the bone, freezing cold. We're like, let's just go into the hot springs for a few hours and just warm up.
Yeah.
And like relax after that ordeal.
Yeah. And then the hot spring, all the sulfur gave Ryan's eyes eczema.
It did.
And then for the rest of our 6-month trip, he struggled with his eyes just being swollen, flaky, and red for months from sitting in the hot spring.
Probably wasn't from just sitting in them. It was probably from swimming in it. But...
Yeah, he was like going under the water and he's like, my eyes are burning. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why. You're not supposed to like go under the water in the sulfur water. And he's no, it's fine. Yeah, but I don't have eczema. I know how my body reacts. They say it
treats eczema and arthritis and all sorts of stuff.
It didn't treat your eczema.
It did not. It started it up.
And then for months, his eyes were just like crusty and red. But not as crusty as I was when I almost died in the jungles of Sumatra.
Yeah, that was not good.
So, we get to Sumatra and... we have to rent motorbikes in the main city.
Yeah, Medan.
In Medan. And then we are riding out to...
Bukit Lawang, which is like the orangutan conservation area.
So it took us so much longer in Medan because we landed. We were supposed to get bikes and then immediately take off. Well, we didn't know that there was only like...
One train
like every few hours. So we missed it by
we saw it leave.
Yep. Approximately 2 minutes we missed this train. So then we were like, oh no. So then we had to get a van. Then the van took so much longer than the train would have. Then we still had to walk to get our motorbikes. By the time we get our motorbikes, we hop on it and we take, and it's starting to get dark. But we already like had things booked and we were supposed to like take off the next morning to go hike into the jungle.
Yeah.
So we couldn't stay the night because we wouldn't make it there on time. So we start riding and it's dark. And the first rule is never ride motorbikes in the dark. Don't do it. So we take off. We also have not eaten, so we are hungry. So we're passing through this little village and it's Sumatra, even though it's a lot less popular, it's still Indonesia, which means there is a convenience store. There's an Indomie, there's a Circle K like everywhere. But we passed through this little, like, open-air market, and Ryan's like, do you want to stop here? And I'm thinking we should just stop at, like, an Indomart or something. But I'm like, yeah, I guess this will probably be better than the Indomart. So that was my mistake. So then he's like, because I had been before, so, like, I knew. So I was like, yeah, like, that's fine. Like, we'll do a little street food. Like, this looks cute. So we pull over. We park our bikes. We walk across the street. And immediately, like, vibes are just off. People are like, oh, this is dangerous. This is dangerous here. And
yeah,
like,
the people that are there are warning us, like, oh, you're going to get your phone stolen.
Yeah, everything's going to be stolen. Like, it's not safe here.
They'll
and we're
knock
like,
you
okay.
off your bike and steal your stuff.
Yeah, so my Bahasa is rusty at best. So, but I can order food. So I'm trying to order just, like, chicken and rice, like, chicken soup. Like, that's it. Like, just something, like, light and easy. And this man keeps like rattling off this stuff. And I'm like, no. And then he's like, do you want a juice? And I'm like, sure, we'll get a juice. So then he's rattling off more stuff. And I'm like, no. Just like, just chicken. Like I am, that's it. Like nasi I am. Like that's it. That's, chicken and rice. Like that's it. And he starts bringing stuff out. And he keeps bringing stuff out and bringing stuff out and bringing stuff out. And I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't want any of this. Like I didn't order this. Like this is not what we need. But he's like leaving it on the table. So like,
yeah.
I don't know.
He was basically trying to make us buy all this.
Which is what he did, and he was successful in it. And the one thing he brought on was like a satay, which is like stuff on sticks with mussels. And they were bad. Like they did not taste good. Yet, like I was like, oh well, he brought them, and like now we have to eat them. No, don't do that. Just don't eat them. Just don't eat them. Say you don't want them.
They were not good.
Oh my God, they were so bad. Yet kept eating them, and Ryan's like, no, I don't like them. You have to eat them. I don't like them. You have to eat them. I don't like them. You have to eat them. So now I'm eating all these freaking mussels.
I didn't. It said you could have left them there. They weren't good.
They were not good. Well, I felt bad, so I ate them, and they were not good. And
I had a couple of them too.
Yeah, so we finally get to our accommodation. Ryan's stomach's already not feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like in the toilet and he's like, uh-oh. We wake up the next morning. I feel fine. Ryan is not feeling good. There's an orangutan walking through our camp and he goes to the toilet.
Yeah, I look at the orangutan and goes, no, I have to leave now. I have to go to the bathroom now. Yeah. Like, it was an emergency. It was not good. And I went to the bathroom 6 times before we left in the space of about an hour.
Yeah. So then we head out. And I'm like, are you good to hang out or do we need to do it tomorrow? And he's like, no, I'm good. So I'm like, okay. So he head out. We're hiking and like he's not enjoying this hike. So I'm trying to like keep the spirits up. So I am like performing. My first clue is we got lunch. And we open up our lunches and I'm like, I'm not hungry. I am not hungry. I should be hungry. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't want it. But I didn't feel sick yet. And I was like, well, maybe it's just hot. We've been moving a lot. Sometimes when it's really hot, I just don't get hungry. So we keep going in. We keep going in. We eat dinner. Again, at dinner, I wasn't really hungry. But I'm like, well, we did a lot of activities today. Like, maybe I'm just not really that hungry. That night, we passed out before the sun even went down. Yeah. So I was like, oh, no.
Like, our camp is in the middle of the jungle. There's no electricity, no running water.
The toilet
is a toilet.
With a tarp around it.
And it's just sitting in the jungle floor. I don't know where it went, but there was a toilet.
It was fantastic, but horrible.
And then you fill it from this big drum of water and you use a bucket to scoop it and empty it.
So I wake up in the morning and now my stomach is... Not even in the morning, in the middle of the night, my stomach is churning. I have to make it to this toilet in like the middle of the night. There's like giant spiders, like it's not good. I now wake up in the morning and I'm not feeling great, but I'm not feeling horrible yet. And they bring out a breakfast sandwich.
It was beautiful sandwich.
Yeah, it had flour on it and everything. And my stomach said, And I ran and now I'm throwing up. I'm now throwing up. By the looks of this sandwich, I'm throwing up. And insult to injury, there's leeches now like attaching themselves to my neck as I'm throwing up. And they're like, okay, so it's either a 4-hour hike or we can like go back the other way and it's 2 hours. And I'm like, I don't know. And all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I need to get out. I need to get out of the jungle now. So as we're getting out of the jungle, I'm getting worse and worse so quickly. They're like, they put me on the back of, they get scooters. They put me on the back of the scooter. And then like, I'm throwing up in this lady's front lawn. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's in her flowers. Like, I felt so bad, but like there was nothing I could do. I am delusional. I couldn't even talk because I was so nauseous. Ryan didn't know what to do at all. He was no help. Then I look at him and I was like, get us a room. Because I literally couldn't get back to our original accommodation because we had to climb up all these stairs.
Yeah, it was a huge hike up.
I'm laying on someone's front porch, throwing up. And their chickens are all around. It was bad. It was not good. So then finally, Ryan took forever. He like took a tour of the room.
I didn't take a tour of the room. I just rented the first room that they had available. That was it.
Okay, so then we get in there. Now... I am throwing up out of both ends for, I don't know, I lost track of time.
6 days, something like that.
Days.
Yeah.
My eating habits are still not the same.
It wasn't.
A year later, I still can't eat. It changed me forever. My brain chemistry is not the same. I'm not okay. And he was just a little, and then one morning... So I am like so nauseous, right? Like I can't even function. I'm so nauseous. I'm having a hard time drinking water. I'm so nauseous. This man decides, you know what I should make myself? Coffee. The smell of coffee is usually really good, but it's also strong. I looked at him and I started crying and I said, why do you hate me?
Because the bed, the way the room was laid out, the bed was there. There was like a half wall and on the other side was like the coffee station. So like, I was only like 3 or 4 feet away from her and I was like making my own coffee and then I just hear, oh, why do you hate me? And I'm like, oh no. I opened the door, I run outside with the coffee. I'm like, I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
Because like I'd been up all night looking after you and keeping an eye on you and I was exhausted.
Yeah, well, I didn't know why he hated me. I still don't know why he was like, let me make coffee. Yeah, you know what else wasn't good? One time I was almost sex trafficked in Kuala Lumpur.
I wasn't with you for this one.
No, I was solo traveling. And I went to Kuala Lumpur on a visa run. Yeah, because I don't even think I had all my stuff on me. I didn't. I was going back to Bali, but I had already stayed my visa because I got a 30-day on arrival. And then, like, you can extend it or go on a visa run. And I just decided I was going to go on a visa run because I wanted to go see Kuala Lumpur. So I was on Kuala Lumpur on a solo mission. I didn't even have my big pack. So I travel with 2 bags, like my smaller pack that I call like my office. So it's like my laptop and all my stuff, like all my work stuff and all my electronics. And then my big pack, which is like all my personal belongings, clothes, all of that, toiletries, all that fun stuff. So I didn't even bring my big pack. I just brought my office and then like a couple changes of clothes because I was only going for like 3 days. I go to Kuala Lumpur. I land. The airport is like 45 minutes to an hour away from like the city itself. And at the time, there was no train no public transit. So you have to get a cab. So I get a cab into the city. I stay in Chinatown. I spend my few days there. And I'm like, okay, like it was cool. It wasn't my favorite city, but like I enjoyed my time and time to go. One of the big things to do when you're in any city is to make sure you get into a marked cab, that they have their cab license visible, that everything is what they should be, that it's a metered cab, like all of the things. So I did all of those things. I went down to the cab like depot stop. I made sure I got into an accredited cab. I took pictures of everything and I sit in the cab. This man turns on the meter, and we head to the airport. He started asking me questions, which is very normal. So it was like, oh, what do you do for a living? You know, are you on vacation? Are you a student? And I'm like, oh, I mean, I do marketing and content creation, but sometimes that like doesn't translate to different languages. Like it's kind of like confusing. So sometimes, especially for older people, and he was a little bit older, maybe like in his 40s. And I was just like, so I was like, oh, I make websites. Because I don't really make websites. Can I make a website? Yeah, sure. But is it good? No, not really. If you haven't seen our website, rangelesstravel.com, that would be me. See, it's like not that good, but like it does its job. I digress. So just to explain to him, because like it's just easier. I make websites. And he goes, oh, my business needs a website. And I'm like, ugh, okay. But like maybe I've gotten clients like in similar situations before. So I'm like, sure. What kind of website do you need? And he's like, oh, for my spa. I'm thinking like nail salon, massage therapy, like things like that, because there's spas like all over Asia, completely normal thing to have. And I was like, oh, and he goes, do you give massages? And I'm like, no. Like, I make websites. Like, I just told you what I do. Like, I make websites. I don't give massages. And then I'm, like, thinking, I was like, I'm also a yoga instructor, though. Like, I don't know why I'm thinking this. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm also a yoga instructor. And he was like, oh, do you have friends that give massages? And I was, like, trying to think. I was like, I don't think any of my friends are massage therapists. No, my friends aren't massage therapists. And then he's like, oh, because, like, Western white girls get a lot of money for massages. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't give massages. I do websites. And he's like, yeah. He was like, well, I need a website. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, it's a shame you don't give massages, though. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I make websites. And he was like, so on my website, I need each of my girls need their own profile. And I was like, okay, sure, like an about me kind of thing. Like, sure, meet the staff. Okay, I can do that. And then he's like, yeah. He goes, but I need the girls' faces blurred out. And that was my first, like, oh, okay, sure. Now, mind you, I get in this cab and I put in the directions in my Google Maps to the airport, so we're on the right road to go and whatever, right? I'm like, sure, odd, but like, sure. And he goes, yeah, I need a banner on the top. Like, what do you charge for this? What do you charge for that? So I'm just like talking to him. And he's like, oh, well, I need your WhatsApp number so I can like send you some photos. And I'm like, okay. So he starts sending me photos of like girls in like bathing suit type, like bathing suit outfits. But they're like bathing suits. So like, I'm still not clicking what is going on. And he's like, but I need all their face blurred. So I'm like, sure, like no big deal. Like, I don't know. But it's like feeling weird. all of a sudden he's like, okay, yeah. And then on the top, I need like a banner. And I was like, yeah, website stuff, a banner, sure, totally. And he goes, and I needed to say, and he says like the name of the business again, like it's in like Bahasa. So like, I don't really know what it is. And then he's like, and then underneath that, it needs to say free condom. And I'm like, what? You want me to make what web? No, I don't make websites like that. That's not something that I do. And I'm looking at my navigator and I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know what this guy wants. Like, he's asking me all these personal questions. He was asking me, like, who I was traveling with, if I was traveling alone, if anyone was waiting for me, like, all these things. And of course I said, my friends are at the airport. I have people waiting for me because that's what you do, right? But still, I don't know. So I look down and I'm like, oh no. And I see that there's a gas station coming up on the side of the highway. And then like a rest stop gas station, a huge one. And then there's like nothing else until you get to the airport, and it's still like 20 minutes. Like, and I don't know what's going on. Like if he could have someone waiting somewhere, someone's going to snatch me at the airport. Like, I don't know what's going on, right? And I was like, I don't know I don't work on those kind of west sides. And then he goes, oh, well, who did you say you were meeting again at the airport because you're not married? Because I said, he was like, oh, are you married? And I said, no, which is a mistake. Always tell him you're married. And I said, no. And I was like, well, I told you my friends are at the airport. And he was like, oh, then why are you by yourself? And I was like, because I wanted to sleep in today. Like I didn't want to go to the airport super early. Like I wanted to sleep in. And he was like, well, that doesn't sound right. Or like something like that. I don't know. It was like, I was now in like full flight or flight mode that like I was just like, whatever. And he had asked me earlier in the ride as well, like what my dad did for a job. And I was like, oh, my dad's a businessman. And I just left it at that. So then now like that I'm like now replaying all these like strange personal questions that this man had like asked me. And I was like, and by the way, my dad's the U.S. ambassador to Kuala Lumpur. And like he's in Australia right now. And like he'll have his people there. And now the guy's starting to get nervous. And because he's getting nervous, that like was like, oh no, did he have more sinister ideas? So I immediately you only, and because I saw on the back on the cab thing, it was like cash only. So it's like, oh, you only take cash? I don't have any. You need to stop at this gas station. And he goes, no, we're not stopping at the gas station. I'm not stopping at the gas station. There's ATMs at the airport. I'm taking you to the airport. I was like, you're stopping at the gas station. And he was like, no, I'm going straight to the airport. I was like, you're stopping at the gas station. You're stopping at the gas station now. And I just like would not let it go. So I'm now like fighting with this guy and like yelling at him for like 5 minutes. And he's like, fine. We'll stop at the gas station. So we stop at the gas station. Now, luckily, because I only had my day pack. Like I had no bags in the trunk. I had nothing in the trunk. So I just snatched my bag so fast the moment, it barely even stopped. And I'm like getting out of the back of this cab. And I run inside. And I'm like looking around and I see this like woman with her family and her husband. And I go over and I just stand next to her and I go, I think this man's trying to steal me. He's asking me about massages. Like he's asking me what my dad does. He's asking me all these really weird questions. And she was just like, just sit with me. She just sit with me. And then she says something to her husband in like Bahasa. And he just like shakes his head like, okay. And then he starts like looking around. The cab driver comes inside. And he's looking around and he like looks over at me and I'm sitting like with them. And like they see me like putting my head down. And like this woman like looks down at me and like sees to like where I was looking and then like looks at her husband and like so he then stands in front of me and just puts his back towards this guy and he like does like this quick lap and then leaves. Like now I haven't paid him. I haven't anything. I like ran away from this cab. So like this man like as a cab driver like wasn't his right to come over and be like, you need to pay me for the ride, especially if that's what his goal is. Like especially
but the fact that he didn't
do that, which is like more red flags. And also the fact that I ran up to this family and they were just like straight into action and like they were just like blocker, like whatever, like they like it wasn't something that was unheard of happening. And the woman now looks at me and she goes, are you going to the airport? And I said, yes. And she goes, so are we. You can come with us. So I just get in this family's vehicle and like we all just went to the airport together.
You got lucky.
I got so lucky. Like it was like, I don't know what would have happened. And the fact he didn't come and ask for money.
Yeah.
Like obviously he wasn't just a cab driver.
No.
But it was a marked cab. It was And it just put a really bad taste in my mouth for Kuala Lumpur, unfortunately. And, like, I was almost trafficked. I have no idea what his plan was, but I ran away. That was my worst travel stories. I feel like it puts, like, oh, yeah, we got stuck on the volcano in the dark.
Yeah, that definitely puts things in perspective.
Yeah. And then during that same trip, so then I go back to Bali, right? And I'm in Bali, and I meet up with one of my English friends, and me and him travel for a little bit together. And we go to Gili Tea. And there's only sketchy ATMs. Gili Tea in itself is sketchy. I hate Gili Tea so much. People are like, I love Gili Tea. I hate it. I despise Gili Tea. First of all, there's no cars on Gili Tea. There's only horses. Once they treat their horses so badly on Gili Tea that once a horse gets there, the maximum life expectancy is 2 years before they are just worked to death. There's no dogs on Gili Tea because they killed them all because they didn't like how they barked for the call of prayer. And there's a huge drug problem on Gili Tea. So, like, a lot of the locals are, like, very, like, on drugs, which is just scary because it's particularly men. And, like, I almost was trafficked in Kuala Lumpur, so I'm already not feeling good. But luckily, I'm traveling with my friend Jack, who is a guy, and it's always just, like, kind of, like, this level of safety. You almost feel like if you have, like, a guy, like, in your travel group. So, which is unfortunate, but it's the reality of it. Now, we're on Gili Tea. There's only sketchy ATMs. So, like, I try to use one of the ATMs. It, like, doesn't work. So, I put my other card in. My mistake. So, yep. So, then we leave Gili Tea. We go to Lombok. Lombok's fantastic. I end up staying in Lombok for years. But, so we're in Lombok, and we're staying at Slumber Party Hostel. I open up my phone app, and I have calls and texts from Chase letting me know that there was, like, suspicious activity. So there was 4 charges went through on my Chase account. So I had to call it and be like, that was not me. Like, my card, I haven't been able to use it. Like, it won't work. And they're like, okay, we'll look into it. They freeze the card. Or, I'm sorry, they cancel the card, and they end up refunding my money. Now, that card is canceled. I'm in Indonesia. I can't get another card sent out to me. So that card's gone. I also had tried my other card when this ATM wouldn't work, right? So then I go on Santander. They let 14 charges go through back to back to back. When I woke up that morning, I had about $5,000 just gone.
Ooh.
$5,000 gone. Now, I called Santander, and I went through it with them, and they were like, oh, yeah, we'll cancel the card. Now, I had 2 debit cards for this reason, and now both of them were compromised, and I had no debit cards. I had no access to money. I did have my credit cards, but, like, for just going around town, you can't just use your credit cards. It's cash only. So I was, like, freaking out because I'm like, what am I going to do? It was like worst case scenario. Yeah. This is why I say make sure when you leave you have a Venmo app downloaded as an American, because what I would do is I'd find other Americans and I'd be like, hey, I'll Venmo you money.
And then you can give me cash.
And then can you give me cash? But like, yeah, but it's annoying to do, and like I don't want to do that to people. Now, Chase gave me the money back. No problem. Santander gave me the money back initially. And then said, after listening to the phone call. Now remember, I'm in a panic freaking out because I'm in a different country and I can't just get another card. They said, oh, there's inconsistencies when we looked at your card. So then they took the money back out. Now this account was the one that like they completely drained like $4,000 out of my account. Not that I can get to it anyway. So, like, my dad was in the States and he has his business accounts with them. So, luckily, I was privileged enough and fortunate enough that he went in and, like, leveraged. He was like, well, I'll close my business account if you don't reverse this. And they ended up reversing it and, like, saving the day. Like, thank you, Dad. But I still had no cards.
No.
So, I still had no access to any money. I still couldn't use an ATM. This is when I learned you can get a PIN code for your credit card. You can withdraw cash as a cash advance. The fees are horrific, but you know, if you have the PIN card, you can take it out. So I ended up getting a PIN number, but I had to get that sent to my father's house, and he had to then send me just a text message of the code so I could use it. But there was a period of time where I had no access to cash. which was very scary, and I didn't know what to do, and I was panicking, and I was completely solo at this point. But it did leave me in a position like open to like any opportunity I could get. So I ended up repping at slumber party hostels and having like a really fun time and a really good experience. So it all worked out, but like I almost was trafficked. Then the next place I go, both my debit cards are compromised. I had no money. And I would solo travel again.
Yeah, that's the thing though, because like after all the bad stuff that happens, like you always come out like with a good story, and also like
do it for the plot. Do it for the plot.
You also grow a lot too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And now I have like all these things where I'm like, do this, do this, do this, and then like things will happen when we're traveling, and I'll be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's like not a big deal.
Yeah, it's fine. I was almost trafficked in Kuala Lumpur. You'll be fine. Relax. You'll survive.
Yeah.
Maybe that energy. Just do it for the plot. Just go do it. Just go do it. Now remember, these are the worst things that have ever happened.
Yeah.
There's 1,001. For every bad story we have like 10 good ones. So go out, travel, experience the world. If you want more from us, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts at Rangeless_. And until next week.
Bye.